Hello, YouTube. Welcome in, welcome in. First of all, I am somewhat getting over a cold right now, so my voice is going to sound a little weird. But for today, we're going to start off with I can't believe I have to do this. Legendary drops. So Legendary drops has been talking a lot about the Palworld versus Pokemon situation. How the internet's there's a bunch of people on the internet going after Palworld. There's a bunch of people trying to defend Palworld. It's just a whole back and forth. Personally, I think Palworld did a fantastic job. They made a very great game, and I wish. Actually, I'm glad Pokemon doesn't take notes, quite honestly, because then we would just have Pokemon trying to do a clone of Palworld, which is not what we want. We want Pokemon to stand on their own 2 feet, just like any other game. They want to stand on their own 2 feet. Okay, Palworld is its own thing. Yes, it got its raise because it, you know, had a lot of Pokemon backing to it. But at the end of the day, it is its own thing. It's its own game, straight up. Not just Pokemon with guns. But let's see what he's getting into here.
Can't believe I have to do this. You would think
Mm-hmm.
that one of the most popular games in the last decade, a game that has broken sales records, that has become the second most played game in Steam history twice now, that
Which is impressive as all get out. Straight up. It is so impressive how popular Palworld is. Crazy.
is still averaging higher player counts than the vast majority of live service games, even some of those live service games combined, that is still in the top 10 most played games on Steam right now, even a month later. You would think that that would be the most widely discussed and widely celebrated game in the games industry, but
No.
it's not. That's right. Nobody has reviewed it. They
Wait, what?
happily covered the controversies, the lawsuit, the plagiarism accusations, all the drama surrounding the game. They had absolutely no problem with putting a permanent number attached to the game in early access, but they immediately fell silent the minute that this game finally made it to full release.
Wait. We haven't gotten. IGN hasn't given a new review to the 1.0. I mean, yeah, granted, I'll be perfect. I'll be the first person to say, like, the actual gameplay of Palworld has not exactly changed from the pre-release to the 1.0. It has in a lot of senses, like, uh, what is it? The trades getting rebalanced, condensing getting rebalanced, more more area to explore, and a whole bunch and a few other little things, but the core mechanics of the entire game are virtually identical. You scrape away the surface and it's pretty much the same. But at the same time, like, this is a full release for it. Why have they not done an actual public review? What?
And it's because they're embarrassed. They're afraid of what this game
Mm,
means, and they have no idea why it's successful. Something that I think is honestly pretty obvious when you look at it, because we have an industry that's become so cynical with these $70 games that are adorned with
mm-hmm.
microtransactions, all these self-serious Hollywood wannabe games that are out there, and a lot of game critics that wish that they were movie critics in a lot of cases, and a game that is priced in a way that basically anybody can afford, that's made in a way that anybody can play, and it's filling a void that AAA has left open for years. And I don't think people can stand it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's the crazy thing about AAA nowadays is that they're putting so much money, like hundreds of millions, not just like hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. No, hundreds of millions of dollars into a single game. And then the only way they could get any kind of like kickback at the end of the day is if they load it up with microtransactions in order to make people pay more than what they originally paid for. Or, well, not or, they do both. And make the game cost as much as absolutely possible, 70, 80, 90, $100 in some cases, just so that they can try to make some kind of recovery. And because of that, they're so focused on trying to make this game absolutely perfect, putting more money into it, and then hoping that once it comes to release, you know, even more money will come back. No, that's not how that works. Especially if your PR is so bad. So like so many AAA games now are screwing their PR just because people might criticize something and they try to defend their work against the criticism instead of being like, "Hey, that's fair. Good to know." I get I get bad comments every now and then in my comment section, and instead of pushing back against them, I've actually taken to being like, "Oh, well, thank you for the opinion on that. Is there anything I can do to fix that?" Or I'll just be like, "Cool story, bro," and I'll just move on. People's bad opinions of things at the end of the day don't fully matter. If you feel like you can get something out of it, cool. But if they don't, people's bad perspective of things, guess what? That's not your target audience. At the end of the day, they don't like it. That's probably not the target audience. The target audience are the people who are actually going to go out, buy the game, and actually enjoy it. Take criticism, obviously, but like, I don't know, man.
So today, I'm going to do something that I have not done in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to review Palworld because nobody else wanted to.
Okay, let's go.
The industry didn't want to. So I'm going to be talking about why one of the most popular games in the past decade is not being discussed. I'm going to talk about my experience playing the game with over 300 hours of experience playing it.
Nice.
And why so many people just don't seem to understand why it works. It's now been a month since Palworld reached 1.0, and a month later, it is still one of the top 3 most played games on Steam, regularly peaking at over 400,000 concurrent players on Steam. According to Analea Analytics, Palworld has now sold more than 30 million copies worldwide and generated over $700 million in revenue, despite being developed for less than $7 million by a relatively unknown studio from Japan with amateur developers. The closest comparisons from the past decade are Cyberpunk 2077, Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, and Hogwarts Legacy, 4 of the biggest, most successful, and most widely discussed games in the industry. So you would think that Palworld would be one of the most heavily covered games in existence. I mean,
Yeah, you would think so, but no, people. I've seen so many channels coming out and they're just like, it's just Pokemon with guns. That's all it is. There's nothing to it. I'm like, and I'll be perfectly honest. I was one of those people. I listened to the, "Oh, it's just Pokemon with guns. It's just Pokemon with guns," people a number of times. But Star came up and was like, "Hey, I think we should give this a try. I've been hearing some really good things about it." I'm like, I don't know. And then I started hearing more and more people outside of those little echo chamber annoyed people saying the same thing. I'm like, okay, maybe there is something going on with this. And so I took a look at it. I'm like, man, this is a fun game. You start off with nothing. You build yourself up to something and a massive factory of cool shit. All the while you're getting the pals, the Pokemon of this universe to help you along those lines. You could be an asshole to them if you want, and that's for some people that's half the fun. But you can also just try and breed up the strongest versions of those pals you can possibly get, and actually treat them with some pretty good respect. Like, or you could just go straight from start to end with the exact same pals in your team. The game is completely up to you. You could literally go into endgame with the first few pals that you find at the start of the game. You can. Pokemon can't do that. I've tried bringing like Rattatas and ferrets and all that into higher levels of play, and sometimes it'll work. Sometimes it'll come out okay, but they have to be so massively overpowered in levels to even attempt to be at the same level as some of the Elite Fours and all that. And it's rough. It's very rough. At the end of the day, it's just like, why would I want to bring in a Rattata when I could bring in this other Pokemon, which is just, in all cases, way better, way stronger, better abilities, everything. Our world actually did it. You can actually have pals that you really like, and they're just as good, if not better, than some of the endgame late stage pals. It's crazy.
This is a genuine rags to riches story, an unknown studio that just made
there you go.
one of the biggest games of all time for practically peanuts, but it isn't. I didn't really notice this until I was streaming the other week, and I had realized that I hadn't seen anybody that was posting reviews for the finished game, so I went and looked, and sure enough, It appears like Games Media is just flat out refusing to review Palworld. A month after release, it only has 13 critic reviews on Metacritic, with only IGN and
Wow.
VGC being the only two major outlets that bothered to cover it. OpenCritic has 30 reviews, but only 9 of them are actually from 2026. The rest are from 2024. Nearly every major outlet was willing to review this game and score Palworld during its early access when it was unfinished, but almost none of them returned to update those scores when this game finally reached 1.0. I just want to point out the absolute hypocrisy here. Notice how quickly these guys are to play favorites. When Bungie asked them to hold off their marathon reviews until more content was added, they waited and came back with glowing reviews. But when it comes to an unknown studio like Pocket Pair, they had no problem immediately handing an unfinished game a permanent score and never walking back. These people had absolutely no issue with covering the lawsuit with Nintendo, accusing the game of plagiarism, or losing their minds over the fact that Pocket Pair's CEO expressed any optimism over the potential uses of AI in game development. They spent 2 years dragging Palworld's name through the mud, but when it finally came time to evaluate the finished product, suddenly nobody could be bothered. And now you could say, oh, it's only been a month, maybe the reviews are coming. Okay, that's fine. So tell me exactly why Halo Campaign Evolved has 51 reviews when it released only a week ago. Tell me why.
Oh, fun, interesting. Yeah, no, that's kind of crazy. Like, it's very sad. It's extremely sad because, like, from what I'm gathering, this is basically what Gamergate was, wasn't it? Like, people going around and playing complete favoritism to a bunch of people in the industry, and hyping up things that they liked, downplaying things that they didn't like. Sorry, I should rephrase that, because that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Hyping up titles with big money attached to them, and downplaying titles that don't have big money attached to them. Completely. Like we're seeing, Palworld is so impressive. It's playing in the big league. Like, it's playing above the big leagues because AAA is so dog shit these days. The only things that are actually being played are things that are from smaller studios nowadays, like Palworld. And Elden Ring, yes, technically is from a larger studio, but it's still not like, I don't think it's considered AAA, is it? I could be wrong. Hard to say what is considered AAA nowadays and what isn't. But like, things from, I don't know, Sony, from Bethesda, from Bungie and all that, all these games coming out, like, they're getting stellar glowing reviews when nobody's playing them ever. And then they're being called idiots for not wanting to play their amazing game. And like, well, maybe it's just not resonating with people. Palworld isn't the most graphically impressive game. It's not the most technically impressive game, but it's fun.
The Beast of Reincarnation has 67 reviews, and it released only 2 days ago. This isn't a lack of time. It's AAA favoritism mixed with a media ecosystem that does not want to walk back what they had already said about Palworld. They sold this game down the river. They didn't want it to succeed, and now that it has, reviewing it honestly would require these guys to admit that they were wrong or reveal that they just aren't like us. And they don't like that we like something that they don't. And I'm not the one saying that. These guys said it themselves. Now, because they refused to move forward, I figured I'd go back to the past to meet them myself. And back in 2024, Chris Tapsell at Eurogamer had published an article titled, "Is Palworld actually any good?" Of course not.
Oh my god.
It's difficult to know where to begin.
They just say it straight in the title. What the hell is that?
With games like this. How do you break it down into its constituent problems when they're eclipsed by its very nature as a cynical, precision reverse engineered machine designed to bottle your attention and refine it into concentrated cash? He then went on to quote Pocket Pair CEO Takuro Mizobe, apparently as proof that Palworld is nothing more than a cynical cash grab, where Mizobe had said, "I have a deep-rooted desire for my work to be enjoyed by as many people as possible, and to that end, if there are any good ideas out in the world, I pick them up, and I don't think that I need to be particular about originality. I want to make something less serious, or rather more easygoing. I think it's good to create something that way, like jumping on what's trendy." Oh no, how horrible. A CEO that's paying attention to what players enjoy, refusing
right?
to take games too seriously and trying to make something that's going to appeal to as many people as possible. What?
What even was that argument? That was ridiculous. Just like, oh, Power World's just a big old cash grab, trying to run off of people's perspective of what's good and what's and all that. Just not trying anything new. Motherfucker, this game's trying so many new things. Yes, there was a huge criticism, and it's a very valid criticism to that a lot of pals look like Pokemon. Yeah, no, for sure. And there's a lot of games that do that. Like there are blatant rip-off AI games that just use Pokemon straight up. Okay? there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And those ones just die. Those ones just roll over and die because there's nothing to them, or, they're trying to duplicate Pokemon, and Pokemon doesn't like that, from what we've seen with Palworld. But all the pals are very, very unique and very, entertaining and interesting to look at. Look at this guy up on the screen here. Yeah, he's like some crazy shogun sort of creature. All of his little dances and everything that he's doing while he's moving around. I haven't seen this guy specifically, Renjishi, but he's unique. He's extremely unique, and everything from the start to the end, all the pals are really cool. But once again, Palworld doesn't have, a shop in the game. It doesn't have like go to the store and buy a whole bunch of skins for your pals or anything like that. It just gives you those. It just uploads them to the game whenever they make new ones, adds them to it, and then calls it a day. And the game's only like $40. It's so cheap. Anyone can play this game. It's great.
An absolute tragedy. How could anybody possibly see this as a bad thing? Especially the way that he worded things. Well, that's probably because the same writer that is criticizing Palworld is also the person that later ended up reviewing Mixtape and gave it a glowing review, telling readers to ignore what other people are saying online about it. And honestly, I don't think that there is a more damning example of just how disconnected they are. Games, media can sit around and they can endlessly find value in a game with zero gameplay, some theater kid level art project that's funded by the daughter of the richest man in the world, but they somehow cannot understand why millions of ordinary players would rather spend their time with something like Palworld. Tavzel will then go.
Mixtape, a game where you can literally just walk away and let it play itself, is apparently better than Palworld. Cool story, bro. Cool story.
Go on to write. Sorry, I got to use the right voice for this. The real problem with Palworld is less the derivative approach than its total shamelessness. It might be oddly refreshing to be so open about your cynicism, but it also has an impact on the player. Play Palworld and you won't feel like you're playing something that was made with thought or craft or an earnest team's best intentions. You won't feel admiration or wonder. You won't feel any real sense of achievement. You won't feel like any artist was involved or anything meaningful might come to mind. You will
Just look at the background right now. Look at the background while listening to this, and just do the whole like, what? What are you talking about? This game is so pretty. What are you talking about?
instead feel like you're playing a product designed to be sold rather than played. You'll feel like a mark, and you'll be right. Damn, I totally nailed that, by the way. I gotta get a job in voice acting. I covered this back when Palworld had first launched, but I don't think that I fully appreciated just how pretentious some of these writers are or just how far they are willing to reach to misrepresent this game and try to shut it down. Of course, someone like this ended up loving Mixtape. It is the perfect game for writers that want to play art critic inside of an industry that is built around entertaining people. But as I said back then, and I'll say it again,
hey, art has a lot to do with the games. I'm not going to deny that. But like, art is also a very highly subjective. Sorry, art is also a very highly subjective and personal opinion on these sorts of things. This game to me is extremely pretty. Mixtape was pretentious. Like, Mixtape had decent graphics and all that, but it was jarring, it was pretentious, and it was definitely the type. It was. You can easily see that it was made by the type of people who thinks that their farts smell like roses. Quite easily. Okay? Whereas Palworld, it's a simple cartoony style. I don't like the looks of the characters that you play as, but that's not the main focus of the game. The main focus of the game are the pals, and all the pals look great, and the environment looks great. And also building your own base, which you can build some really pretty ass bases in this game. It's pretty neat.
You caught me. He was right. I did feel marked. I, along with apparently 30 million other people, felt like this game was aimed directly at me and injected straight into my bloodstream. What games media missed then and still refuse to reckon with now is that Palworld became this successful because it is a complete inversion of modern games and the modern games industry and every single thing that these writers want video games to become. This game does not take itself seriously. These developers don't take it seriously. Palworld technically has a story. I don't even know what it is, and I don't even care. This is a brain-off, fun-built game that is completely around the idea of just letting you play it. I mean, it doesn't even tutorialize itself or force you into hours of exposition and dialogue just so these game writers can try to pontificate and indulge themselves like they're going to be the next Kojima or that they're writing the next Lord of the Rings. It's a game that just, it lets you play.
And here's the nice thing about Kojima and Lord of the Rings style writing. They don't spend hours and hours of like expletives and sitting around explaining every little detail of the game and everything going on just to thank you. Just to try and like get you to understand what's happening with the world and what you're sitting in and like telling you how to do everything in the video game. No. Palworld has a set amount of tutorials. You can follow them, you can ignore them. It has like a storyline. You can either pay attention to it or you can just literally hit the skip button throughout the entire thing and just get right back to playing the game how you want it. Doesn't matter. Yet there are so many games nowadays that are coming out and it's just like, okay, now to sit through an hour movie so you can understand the world we're playing in. Then we're going to force you to go through this extremely in-depth tutorial to show you every single mechanic in the game, and this is going to take up half the game. By the way, by the time we get into the end battle, we're still going to be screaming at you. Press X to dodge. Press X to dodge. Fucking hate it. Palworld is just like, here's your basic controls. Here's a thing to tell you how to start crafting. Here's your survival guide so you can actually read up on how to survive. Oh, you just threw that out the window. Okay, cool. Go be the best pal trainer there ever was.
In hindsight, it is just so funny to hear these people try to intellectualize a game like Palworld. It takes the friendly creature collector formula with the cutesy creatures that lets you force them into working in sweatshops. You can capture other trainers and balls and force them to work too. Yep. You can hand a monkey an AK-47, shove a penguin into a rocket launcher, and send an entire flock of self-destructing birds directly into your enemies. I mean, by the end of this game, you are basically a Gundam. You're firing a grenade launcher into packs of adorable creatures, shooting lasers across the battlefield and using an array of drones to eviscerate multi-dimensional gods. None of it makes sense, and none of it has to. You don't need to intellectualize fun or what's interesting. Nobody needed an essay about the artistic intent trying to understand why a pixelated plumber was trying to throw fireballs and jump on turtles and why that was entertaining for people. You played it, it felt good, and you just wanted to keep playing it. That's why Mario is one of the most popular games in existence. This constant need to intellectualize everything is part of why the games industry is decayed into this self-serious Hollywood wannabe machine that's just wasting so much money and so much time. Palworld, in all of its stupidity and absurdity, it just feels like a return to normalcy. And players recognize that, and they can...
Crazy how a game that's just built around stupidity and ridiculousness and just doing stupid shit feels more normal than games that are trying to emphasize normality.
Connected with that. And I think that's the reason why so many of these people just never came back to review it. It's because they were just completely wrong about Palworld. It's a game that
validates the damn ball.
Basically everything against what these guys want the industry to mean.
There you go.
It was made for a broad audience. It borrowed ideas that people already liked, that they knew people already liked. They prioritized gameplay over prestige, immediate fun over artistic self-importance, and they gave players an absurd amount of freedom without stopping every 10 minutes to explain why any of it was meaningful. To this writer, that is proof of cynicism, which is just absolutely embarrassing. Wanting as many people to enjoy your game? Actually cynical. Paying attention to the most popular ideas and what people like? Actually cynical. Designing something that people can lose hundreds of hours in and only charge them $30 for it. Surprising enough, yes, that's actually also cynical. And that actually might be the most revealing part of this entire article, and honestly, all the industry's coverage over this game, because this isn't contempt for Palworld. It's contempt for the audience that enjoyed it. Because if 30 million people play something and we all enjoy it, and your only explanation is that they were manipulated into liking it, you aren't trying to understand those people. You've already decided that their taste is beneath you.
Yep.
I was half tempted to title this video Palworld is a Wake-Up Call Part 2, because that's exactly how special this game is. A throwback to a series that I used to do. Maybe I'll do again.
Now, on a side of the note, I will say so far this hasn't so much been a review of Palworld as an attack on game journalism so far. I'm not sure if we've actually gotten into a proper review of Palworld yet. He's barely talked about the actual game itself. He's only been talking about like how pretentious people are when it comes to, you know, reviewing things. Which, fair. I hope we're going to get into an actual like full-on review and thought process towards Palworld. Yeah.
Someday, maybe not, but that's really what this game is, at least in my eyes. And I think one of the reasons why Palworld is not being reviewed right now, I don't think it has anything to do with how long the game is or how stacked the release schedule is for how many games that are coming out. I think part of it's favoritism, but I think the other part of it is that it simply just makes a lot of people in games media, a lot of people in the industry, very uncomfortable, because not understanding it, not understanding why people enjoy it, not being able to enjoy it yourself is a bit of a rude awakening to realize that the games industry might be headed in the wrong direction and has been for a really long time. And it also kind of goes to prove just how far disconnected you have become from the audience. Mm-hmm. Again, keep in mind, the active development for this game was $7 million for them to get to early access, probably less than $20 million for these guys to get to full release. And I don't know how these guys can quantify it, because they're looking at it. There's like no long exposition. It's not a high piece of art. It doesn't have a star-studded voice cast or anything like that. I'm sure this game has some executives head spinning right now, because these guys are looking at it and they're saying, I just spent $300 to $400 million making this blockbuster game, and this game just ran laps around me multiple times by now. And they're like, how do you do this? How does something like this even happen? Most of these guys,
you do this by prioritizing fun and entertainment and not an art piece. Look, despite a lot of gamers really enjoying art and all that, at the end of the day, we don't really care about art. Pokemon was at its funnest when it was a 8-bit game on a handheld device, in personal opinion. Like, it was legitimately at its funnest at that point, where it was just a cartoony sprite. It wasn't live action battles and all that. It was a turn-based system, and it was kind of like playing chess. Now the Pokemon games just feel so disconnected from where they came from. You don't even need to really battle Pokemon anymore. You just go out, buy a bunch of balls, and throw them at them until they get into the ball. Yeah, sure, you do that with Palworld a little bit, but at the same time, it's like not that big of a difference, because that's what the game kind of emphasizes playstyle off of right from the get-go. Whereas, and then there's other games where they're trying to make this big blockbuster crazy thing, and it's like, you don't need to go super ham on like making everything look realistic and perfect and amazing at every second of gameplay. Just need to make it look interesting. We're not asking for much. We're not asking to see every pore on Leon Kennedy's neck folds now that he's an old man. We're not asking to be able to see every ray of sunshine reflecting through glass and then bouncing off of crystal cups in the corner of the house and be like, oh my god, the attention to detail in this is so amazing and blah 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 blah. Like, yeah, sure, we'll be like, oh, this is really impressive. But I have to turn all that off so I can actually use my shitty system, because guess what? I'm not a big streamer. I'm not being paid to do this. So I don't have like a crazy expensive rig to be able to play these games. Palworld can be played on a potato, okay? It really can.
Guys don't even have the ability to even make a game like this anymore because they fired those people a long time ago and replaced them with people that probably think the exact same way as many of these games journalists do right now. They probably have the exact same opinions, which says a lot about the games that we're seeing. It also makes a hell of a lot more sense when you think about it. Now, the real reason I was motivated to make this video wasn't just to criticize games journalists. I can do that all week, to be honest with you. What it is that I am sick and tired of these video game outlets going out and giving a score and reviewing early access games, never to return to them.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that it's fair. And while in some cases they do go back, in other cases, like with Palworld, they don't. If that game does not align with them specifically, if that game does not meet up with their standards of what they think the games industry should be, if that game's audience is their internet enemy of the week, they have absolutely no problem judging that game for what it was when it first came out into early access and never returning to it. And I don't think that that's fair.
No.
So if nobody else wants to seriously review Palworld, I will.
Okay.
I should probably preface this by saying that open world survival crafting games or anything that's adjacent to this.
Good. So the first half was literally just him shitting on on the review systems of modern gaming journalists and all that, and now he's going to get into it. Perfect. I'm good with this. Let's get an actual like legitimate criticism of Palworld, and I want to give my 2 cents on it too.
Genre, funny enough, is actually my specialty. They're not only the games that I tend to enjoy the most, but they're also the games that I put the most time into. I've nearly 1,000 hours in Terraria, probably around the exact same for Minecraft. Hundreds of hours across Satisfactory, Valheim, Enshrouded, Core Keeper, Stardew Valley. Honestly, the list kind of goes on. Rising, whatever else. I've already played most of them at this point. And now with more than 300 hours into Palworld, I don't know, man. I just can't put this game down. It isn't perfect by any means, but a lot of its rough edges honestly just become a part of its personality. And after playing as many survival games as I have over the years and putting in as many hours as I have, I genuinely think that Palworld is not only going to go down as one of my favorite games in the genre, but honestly one of my favorite games ever. This game, it just feels so good to play, and I cannot overstate how much that matters to me with almost every single game that I play. The controls are so tight, the movement feels responsive, the weapons feel good, and the commanding, mounting, or directly using your pals it's almost always satisfying. I recently played a bit of Game Freak's Beast of Reincarnation. God, is that game terrible. And the camera was just so janky in that game. The movement was so uneven. Bouncing from platform to platform just felt so wonky. And the animations were just so poorly timed. It reminded me just how quickly all those small problems can just start ruining an experience for me and just make me just not care.
Look at this game specifically, okay? This game is visually very appealing. It's doing some it has some really interesting thing. Like let's look back over here. The wolf, this verdant wolf sort of design here, slammed its tail down and grew a whole bunch of blossoms and all that. Like, it's very pretty. But why does it look so flat? It just looks almost like the same as every other game, just a little it just flat. I don't know what about it. It's just not clicking. It doesn't look like its own thing. It doesn't look like anything different. It's just the same as everything else, which is one of the big problems to AAAs. Like I said, this nowadays, they all look the same because they're all trying to be hyper realistic and high fidelity, and it's just interesting touch with the dog's feet getting covered in mud because they're standing in like a muddy water. That's a cool touch. I like that. But is it needed? I don't really think so.
Quickly, all those small problems can just start ruining an experience for me and just make me just not care about it. Palworld's tight controls directly lead into basically everything that you're feeling and learning about the game, and that's kind of what just opens it up for everything else. Like, that's why this stuff matters so much to me. I remember in the beginning of the game, I had caught a Tantarus pretty early on, and I spent hours using its slingshot to just snap myself across the map. It was so fun learning how to be able to mess with the physics that way. I was reaching places that I myself across the early on, and I spent hours using its slingshot to just snap myself across the map. It was so
Yeah.
fun learning how to be able to mess with the physics that way. I was reaching places that I probably had no business going to and progressing way faster than I was probably supposed to. And man, that just feels really good. Palworld is filled with moments like that. You try something, you're immediately rewarded for it, and then suddenly you're off chasing the next creature, material, upgrade, quest, or stupid idea that you can come up with. And I think a lot of modern games get this wrong, and it's part of why so many of these games either fail or just become completely forgettable. These guys are constantly getting in their own way. They are stacking up these tiny annoyances, bad controls, lack of freedom, things that interrupt you with unnecessary pauses like dialogue or whatever else, or they're gating progression so
Ew, story.
heavily that you feel forced to play exactly how these developers intended instead of how you actually want to play. And a lot of that comes from ego and unskilled developers. The developers become so attached to how the game is supposed to play from their experience that they forget to just let you experience it yourself. And Palworld, it just isn't that kind of game. That philosophy extends across almost everything and ultimately makes this game better. It doesn't get in its own way of fun, and it's, I don't know, man, it just doesn't really take itself that seriously. Pocket Pair seems to have spent most of their time just building the things you would actually want to interact with, the things that actually make the game enjoyable, instead of just wasting your time polishing details that barely even matter to most people.
On a critique on that one, I think they probably could have put a little bit more effort into the storyline for Palworld. Not like make a whole bunch of what's it called? In-depth cutscenes that you have to watch. Like the only cutscenes you really have to focus on are when they're showing off the bosses when you enter in the arenas. But like if they had just gotten some voice actors for the main people you have to talk to in order to do the storyline and all that, I think that would have done a lot of good work for making the game a little bit more, I don't know, making the actual storyline more prevalent. I know that this game's entire focus isn't the storyline, but it doesn't have to not have storyline focus. Is what I'm trying to say. Like, why are we going around trying to get all these spears in order to get to the world tree in order to do this? I get that there's like a cataclysmic sort of thing going on, but unless you actually want to sit down and read all the dialogue, which the game really heavily emphasizes that you don't sit around and just wait for everything. It emphasizes multitasking, going on, doing a whole bunch of stuff. Hell, even if you just got onto like a communicator or something like that, and you could actually just talk to these NPCs as you're running around doing things, and they have voice lines. Grounded 1 and 2, like they had the little disc players for voice bits that you actually could put in, and you could go and do all your shit at the same time while listening to story beats. I think that could have helped Palworld a little bit, or for people to actually understand what's going on in the world around them, instead of just being reactionary and being like, okay, on to the next boss, on to the next boss, on to the next boss. That's my only real critique for it. And I think it's a valid critique, personally.
I mean, they didn't even bother giving any of the creatures a proper death animation. They just turned into giant ragdoll balloons, immediately bouncing across the ground and rolling down a hill. Some writers have criticized,
which is fantastic. I love it. They're just like, blah. Then you play soccer with their body for a bit.
Palworld for being rough around the edges and unfinished in some places, but honestly, a lot of those rough edges are exactly what are giving this game a lot of its personality. There are parts of this game that Pocket Pair either didn't know how to do something the conventional way or simply didn't care, and weirdly enough, sometimes it just makes the game better. The questing, I think, is a perfect example of this. They barely even tried to make it integral to the progression or to the game itself. The main quests are there to be able to point you in the direction that you need to go if you actually need the guidance, but you can basically ignore them entirely, wander off into the world, and still naturally progress through the entire game from start to finish. And
yes, and once again, that's how they designed this game. I still think that they should have, at least with some of the codexes you can find around the world, it would just give you like a little autoplay function to all the players that you're playing with, or at least in your guild or something like that, or even if it's just playing for you and nobody else. I think that would be way better, because I haven't actually even felt the interest to sit down and read the codexes. I haven't found the interest to really talk to NPCs and find out exactly what they're saying. I started a little bit with my own little playthrough, which I've been trying to do on stream, but unfortunately my computer seems to be struggling with streaming this game with a group of people. But it's I don't know. I really wish that they would have put a little bit of emphasis on the story, just a little bit, instead of just delegating that to like not even a D-list part of the game. It's like they put it in there just for the simple sake of, well, we might as well have some kind of story going in here. Might as well put some sort of world building in, I guess.
Man, do I love that, because instead of following quest markers the entire game, I was
Yes.
just exploring. I never needed to feel like I needed to do anything else. I just picked a direction, and then every new area would give me a new reason to keep going, whether it was new creatures, a boss to fight, materials, dungeons, resources, or honestly just a completely different environment to be able to explore. So
And I'm very happy about that. I, I think you could do a mix of both, though. Make it so when you do go and interact with the story, you can either skip it entirely or have the story actually be voiced a little bit and give you like some sort of actual interest in watching through the storyline, at least the first time when you're going through, instead of forcing you to be, okay, if you want to pay attention to the story, you're going to have to read it. And it's like, I don't want to read it. I'm playing Palworld. I want to smash my head against the computer, against the keyboard, and make funny explosions happen. And if you want to just skip them, because you can already skip the dialogue. I just think that they focused a little bit too heavily on letting people go, okay, I shoot things now, brr. But I am very glad that they don't just fill the entire game up with, okay, talk to this NPC, get like 4 different quests from these guys, and over here, make sure you're doing all these quest lines, or else you're not going to 100% the game, or else you're not going to do all this fun stuff and all that, and you're going to miss out on a whole bunch of stuff. It's like, no, they're not hiding anything behind nothing. The only thing that they're hiding behind anything like that are like little cosmetics. Like, I think you can get a Depresso costume or something like that, which is goofy. I kind of like it. But aside from that, there's not a whole lot of stuff that's really hidden anywhere.
somehow they made a quest system that works for both the people that need direction while also at the
Mm-hmm.
exact same time being completely invisible to the people that don't.
Case in point, top right. Stockpiling sulfur. Obtain a sulfur. 0 out of 10. That's it. That's it. And once this is gotten, it'll update instantly and say, okay, do the next thing. Okay, do the next thing. And you can just leave that there until until you want to actually deal with it. You can ignore this completely until you come across a sulfur node and be like, I guess I can grab that right now and get on to the next thing.
The creature diversity goes way deeper than I had expected, probably deeper than a lot of people have even scratched the surface of yet. Their abilities, passive traits, their work suitability, the different partner skills that create this insane number of combinations and ways for you to be able to experiment with the game. Some pals can craft, gather, farm, breed, and automate something at your base. Others support very extremely specific combat builds that I haven't even seen yet. Again, I am so mad about how this game was framed by the media, especially for calling it cynical, when this is honestly one of the deepest and most complex creature collectors that I have ever played. I mean, you could have one pal just be your damage carry and then just surround it with creatures that boost its abilities, or you could run 4 Gobfins with Vanguard and then you just make yourself the damage dealer. For a while,
No, well, they actually nerfed that. The 4 Gobfin or the 5 Gobfin mechanic doesn't really work anymore. I don't think they actually do that boost. And any of the pals that do have that boost now, you can't really just stack them. They nerf that into the ground. I'm sad that they did that, but I can understand why they did that. To try and pull away from just, okay, let's just have all these pals in your party that aren't actually doing anything. They're just boosting your stats to hell and back.
I had built around Flaricle's ability to be able to cause explosions after enemies were set on fire, dealing extra damage and also still setting them on fire. I then paired that with Renjishi, so then I could inflict burn myself with my own weapons, Kelpsy Ignis to increase all fire damage, and then Jormuntide Ignis to boost damage against burning enemies. Once I had that all together, dude, stuff just started melting. I can't actually wait to be able to put even more into some of this build, but I haven't even seen stuff like this yet. I think it's awesome how much this game actually supports that experimentation. It rarely locks you into just doing one thing. You know, you don't even have to keep a flying pal on your team because they have the air jumps, and you can also build double jump builds for mounts that are just on the ground. You don't even have to basically even use your pals for fighting if you don't want to. You could build around them, you could fight alongside them, or you could just practically ignore it altogether. I mean, I've even watched somebody beat the entire game just using swords and no pals at all. That's what I really like about it. This game hands you systems, and it's asking you what you want to do with it instead of telling you this is the correct way to play. That freedom is basically the name of the game pretty much across the board at this point. The boss fights were another massive surprise for me, especially the later tower and raid bosses. I expected giant health bars and all-out brawls, and while some of that stuff definitely is still there, and you can totally just kind of bully your way through a lot of this stuff, the game does start to introduce actual mechanics. Panthalos could raise a massive tsunami that you either had to fly over or get swept away by. It had other...
Fly, you fat fucking pigeon, fly!
Other AoEs and other abilities that you had to watch out for. Other bosses would cover the ground in patterns, so you had to actually watch your positioning. Every single time I thought that I understood Palworld's limits, this game would just throw another curveball at me. Every single system would lead to another system. Every time I thought that I'd reached the bottom of something, I just found another layer. Palworld feels endless to me because there's always another creature, build, machine, strategy, or completely ridiculous idea that's waiting for me. And it honestly made this game impossible to put down. It's just so damn fun to play. But that doesn't mean that the game is without flaws. Now, for as good as Palworld is and how good the controls actually feel, the collision geometry is still an absolute mess. I get caught on something that I can't even see. I fail to be able to step over an object that's barely over ankle height, or sometimes I'll get caught climbing on invisible walls and then get stuck on those as well. The camera can also break and kind of lose itself during certain fights or getting hit by specific attacks, leaving me just kind of staring into the ground or fighting to see what's actually happening. Now, none of this stuff is game.
Yeah, that is definitely something that's a little janky about this game, but it's nothing like breaking or anything along those lines. Hell, that's added to a few people actually being kind of goofy and looking for exploits, like clipping through the wall of a dungeon in order to get to the end really fast or something along those lines. So it's goofy, but it's kind of endearing goofy.
Breaking, but I'm going to tell you what, it is really frustrating. And after a while,
True.
It does start pulling you out of the experience. I definitely had that problem a little bit. Pocket Pair might still be a small studio, and this definitely actually isn't their first game, but you know, after all the money that they've made making Palworld, I think it's fair to be able to expect that some of this very basic jank should get cleaned up.
That's fair. That's very
Now, my
fair.
biggest issue with the game, honestly, really my only issue with the game, the camera stuff is more of an annoyance, but honestly, the end game, especially the world tree, is just obnoxious to me. I love the area itself, don't get me wrong. I love the variety of taking the larger world and then compressing it into this smaller, more dense map. The creature selection is really great. The boss fights are a lot of fun, and the modified Pal Gauntlet is actually one of my favorite encounters in the game outside of like Panthalos in the final fight, but the progression in this area is honestly just lame. I don't know what these guys were thinking here. You spend a lot of time just nuking creatures for salvage parts, then feeding those parts into a machine, and then hoping RNG is going to give you what you need, and at the exact same time, you're constantly farming to craft AI cores just to make basic upgrades to get into the final tier, and for such a great-looking area, there just isn't enough meaningful stuff to do here. You don't really get to use it all that much. Raid bosses, hard mode, and the end games.
That seems to be a large issue that a lot of these survival crafting style games tend to have once you get into the late game. In order to keep things at a progressive, momentum and all that, they make things go from like, okay, go find an ore node that's pretty easy to find, smelt that into ingots, and boom, you got yourself some ingots. Well, next we have to, okay, now let's get the next tier of things. We also need coal in order to make refined ingots. That's not too bad. Okay, now we need to find this thing and then mix it with this thing in order to make this thing, and then you need this this stuff from this tree in order to make this next thing. V Rising has this issue where you need to make coarse thread in order to make silk, in order to make ghost silk, in order to make the next level of thing. And in order to get to the last level, you need like the first level stuff. And yeah, you should have tons of this material, but it's also very time consuming in order to go out in order to get lower level materials, because you have to go to low level areas and then you're going through and you mine everything, and it's like, oh well, I've already mined everything. I've got maybe like a quarter of what I'm going to need at the end of the day, and it's just it takes you out of the moment to have to go around and grind and grind and grind just for a little bit of stuff, only for it to turn around and be like, yeah, no, you didn't get enough of the stuff. You have to go out and grind even more. And it's just, I don't wanna.
Stuff in general is just really my biggest problem with the game. Eventually, you stop leveling. You don't really need to catch 5 of every new pal anymore because it's not really worthwhile, not unless you're trying to breed. Exploration then loses its purpose. You don't really need to go looking for anything else. Progression stalls out, and the only real path forward that you have is endless min-max breeding to chase the perfect passives and stats while mindlessly farming the exact same areas, hoping for schematics to drop so you can get duplicates of them to make better armor.
Yeah.
Worse than that, the freedom that I love throughout the rest of the game starts disappearing. And this is probably the part
Yeah.
that really annoys me the most. I go from using creatures that I like to building around whatever strategy can actually survive the absurd health and damage of a lot of these creatures. Now, I don't mind the hardest content in the entire game requiring preparation or optimized teams or a little bit of grinding. It should have some of that stuff, but I wish it leaned a little bit more on skill, positioning, mechanics, and smart team building instead of just brute force stat checks.
Ah.
And that's where I land with Palworld. It's flawed, sometimes janky, and the end game loses some of the freedom that makes the rest of the game and the rest of the experience feel so special. But Pocket Pair still has some work to do, work that I still think that they're going to do. And honestly, none of that changes what this game gets right. It trusts me to be able to find my own fun. It gives me a world full of systems, creatures, weapons, and ways to be able to play. The game gets out of its own way and just lets me decide what I want to do while I'm playing it. And I think that's what the media missed here. And it's really sad that they did. They were so focused on what Palworld represented to them, where its ideas it came from and what kind of people enjoyed it, that they never seriously engaged with why the game worked. Popularity doesn't automatically make something good, and Palworld deserves honest criticism, but it also deserved an honest review. Beneath all of the controversy is a game that understands something that the rest of the industry has increasingly forgotten. Sometimes,
And that's the other thing, an honest review. And this was his honest review. He gave a lot of good points at the beginning, and then he also said a lot of his own personal negative points, which is what a review is. It's subjective dive into your experience with the game and letting people hear your thoughts and be like, okay, that might be a bit of an issue for me later down the line, but I don't mind the grind. I don't mind doing a bunch of grinding. I don't mind if that's how the end game feels, and if the end game really feels shitty, I can just restart and go right back to the beginning, early game stuff. Which, yeah, at the end of the day, as if you go into the game have it with some sort of an idea, that makes sense. Nowadays, reviews are pretty much just like, you're either saying nothing but good about something, or you're saying nothing but bad about something. And then everybody looks at that and is like, well, this isn't helpful at all. It's like going onto Amazon and trying to find reviews, and you're having to literally look at the worst reviews and the most positive reviews and try to figure out, okay, which ones do I listen to and which ones do I not listen to? Because a lot of these are just like, I'm giving this a 0-star review because I bought a mouse and I needed a keyboard. Or I'm giving this a 5-star review because I needed a keyboard. And this worked perfectly as a keyboard because I bought a keyboard. Awesome. Thank you, bud. That's helpful for what I'm looking for. But that's pretty much what reviews nowadays have become. This has been a good review. He gave us a lot of good insight into why he really enjoys this game. He gave us some very fair critiques and thoughts on why the endgame feels a little bad. I don't know about the endgame myself at this point because I haven't gotten to endgame in the 1.0 yet. But yeah, no, this was a very good review. I like it. 10 out of 10. Good job.
sometimes people just want to play. Sometimes people just want to have fun. And after more than 300 hours, I still don't want to stop. I love this game, man. I really do. There's just something special about it. And while I've listed a bunch of things that I really liked about the game, there's also some like intangible stuff that I can't really explain that keeps me coming back to it.
Mhm.
Part of it's just the game's personality. It's the way the creatures look. It's how they, just turn into rolling balls when they die. It's just the
Yeah.
some of the unfinished stuff or some of the crude humor or whatever it might be. It just keeps me coming back to it. And another part of it is too is that the game just largely just laughs in the face of modern game design, and I love that so much. And I wish that more people in the games industry would put themselves aside and just look at the game a little bit more
Mhm.
thoroughly and give the game more of a shot, because they could probably learn a lot from it. I think the games industry needs to move in the direction of games like Palworld and go back to just worrying about being fun and not really worrying about what other people think about you. But the only thing that really keeps me from saying that Palworld is like my favorite game of the genre, or could be my favorite game of the genre, is that it doesn't really have that much replayability. At least I'm not seeing
Yeah.
it having that much, not unless I played it with other people or something like that. A game.
The replayability for Palworld is kind of like the replayability for Pokemon, right? Once you've beaten the entire game, you gotten to the very end of the game and all that, the only replayability is doing challenge runs or like group runs. So with Pokemon, once you've beaten Blue and Red and all that, the only reason you'd want to go back and replay the game is if you're doing like a Nuzlocke, or you just really want to re-experience the game, and then you re-experience it for 5 minutes. It's like, okay, I'm good. um, so with Power World, once again, it'd be like going in with challenge runs, being like, okay, let's play Power World, but we're going to turn on all the, we're turning on randomized pals and triple spawns. Um, or we're going to go in and be like, okay, we're only going to use the normal type pals and try and figure out, okay, how do I get some kindling going and all that. And that's pretty much all you can really do at that point when it comes to actually like playing Power World and doing the replayability. But that's the thing. That's not a bad thing. That's not negative, because games don't need to be infinitely replayable. We've got so many games coming out. Why do we want to just spend all our time playing the exact same game over and over and over and over and over and over and over again on repeat? It can be our favorite game and we never touch it again. There's nothing wrong with that.
Game like Terraria, the reason why I keep coming back to it year after year after, I'm literally going to be playing it right after I finish this video. Um, the reason I keep coming back to it is because every single time I play it, it feels dramatically different every time I do. And it's because
Mhm.
there's different builds that you can take, and those builds require a lot of dedication to be able to get all the pieces for and progress all the way through. A lot of things require, I don't know, it's hard to explain in a video. If you know in a lot of cases. But Palworld doesn't really have that, because you're not really locked to building around certain creatures. You're not locked to building around certain gear and presets and stuff like that. And that's really good. It gives you a lot of freedom to be able to do whatever you want, but
Mhm.
it also takes away some of the feel of being able to, have a different progression path when you go to play it a second time.
It would be neat if they put in like separate skill trees for if you wanted to go down a warrior path, a builder path, a marksman's path, or like a rogue style path in Power World. That would be kind of neat. That way people can play in a specific playstyle that they really enjoy playing. If you don't want to use guns at all and you want to just beat people up with a stick, go for it. And you have like an actual tree that's progressing you down that direction. That'd be really cool. But I kind of also like the openness without limitations sort of thing as well. Uh, I think no, honestly, no. I think I would much prefer having the limitation at the end of the day. Though I'm back and forth. I'm back and forth on it. It's fine the way it is, but there are ways you can make it better. There we go. That's probably the best way to look at it.
It's a game that you're going to come back to play if you're going to be playing with other people, or if they add more content, and chances are with Palworld, they're going to be definitely adding more content. If I had
Fingers
to say there was
crossed.
anything that I wish I could see in the future for Palworld, I definitely think it needs evolutions or fusions. One of the two.
Mm,
Like whether they do the traditional, evolutions that you see with like Digimon or Pokemon or something like that. I want to see some visual progression of my pals in the game, and that
hmm
visual like show of power is really cool, and it's one of the most attractive parts of those games, and I hope that
Like Lamball evolving into Malpaca, evolving into King Paka. That would be kind of neat. But at the same time, I'm also glad they didn't do that, because it just kind of feels like a Pokemon or a Digimon sort of situation. But it's neat knowing that you can go into the final battles with a land ball and be able to beat it. I mean, not as easy, obviously, and you might have to change some settings in your game world to do it, but I mean, it is still doable.
That ends up coming to this game. And with the creature designs that they already have and how ridiculous they kind of get with some of this stuff, I definitely kind of feel like fusions is the best way for them to be able to go, and you can really get some cool stuff going on with that. But I said this again in like the media breakdown part of it and my media take with it, but I think like one of the things that really upsets me with this game is the fact that it just did not get a fair shake. And it goes to show just how unfairly some of these games can be treated by the wider industry. And it really worries me for indie studios, and it really worries me for early access games, because while these guys will sometimes go back to change their scores with some games, we've already seen that they don't want to do it with others. And if those games do not align with them or their goals or their narrative or whatever it is, they're not going to give it a fair shake. So I think it's incredibly important that you guys support the games that you love, especially when it comes to Little Guy. We made this one impossible to ignore. That might not be true for the next one. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are actually almost at 500,000 subscribers, which I don't want to go on some long tirade. I might just make a video talking about it or something like that. It's absolutely insane. I don't think that I deserve it. I don't understand why people watch me. I
ask myself the same question every day, my guy. But yes, everybody, make sure you go and check out Legendary Drops. He does some good stuff in the gaming space. He definitely talks about the Little Guy a lot. He criticizes the jadedness of a lot of the larger review networks that we currently have going right now. He's doing good things in the world. He's doing good things in the gaming space, in my opinion. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. He's going to ramble like this for, you know what, screw it. It's only like, what, 30 seconds? Let him finish. Let him finish his
I just turn on the camera and start talking some days, and people watch it. I mean, thanks. I really appreciate it. I really love the support, man. I can't really explain it. It's a weird thing. I'll tell you that right now. It's definitely not where I expected my life to go, but I'm grateful. That's all I can say. So cheers to 500K. I guess I'll make a video talking about it when it actually happens. And thank you guys for everything. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay cool. Stay righteous. Stay safe. Peace.
Bye-bye. Family. But yes. Guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been a very fun video. Very eye-opening. I love Palworld. I have great hopes for Palworld and where it's going to go in the future. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Go check out the original video. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Hey, did you enjoy that? Was it funny? Well, come and check it out live over at twitch.tv/freeform_art. Make sure you put the _art. We have lots of fun there. We enjoy ourselves, and we want to see you over there. So come on and hang out. See you in a bit.